Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Just wanted to jump on and do a quick live about routines. Now, obviously, we are entering, or actually, we're in now, the fourth week of this lockdown. And for a lot of people, it's been very unsettling. I did a little video on my personal profile about the sort of stages that people would go through. So if you want to have a look at that, check that out. But I think now we're into this fourth week and people are starting to create their own new normals. They're getting used to this a little bit and making the most of it in some cases, but some probably still struggling a little bit with it. So I wanted to do a little video on routines, why it's important, and some top tips for how you can create one. So I thought I'd come out to the garden. It's lovely and sunny. I apologise for the shine on my head. Most of you will have seen that I chopped my hair off for charity, for the NHS. So I'm now living with a bit of a dome head, bit of a shine on there. So apologies for that one. But it's all good. The sun's out. So routines. Now, when I talk about routines, I'm not necessarily saying that this is about creating something that makes you sort of super productive. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be, on it as much as possible to create whatever it is you're trying to do. This is more around just dealing with the current sort of situation. Now, a lot of you will know me as a property investor and property developer, and some of you will know me from my military background. In fact, the military background is quite key here because the military do love a good routine. And there's a reason for that. And it's the same sort of reasons here. You know, we'll come on to some of the benefits in a minute, but military really do like having routines in place because they understand the importance on mental health and morale, etc., of the personnel. I mean, for example, I think back in the autumn of 2001, I was basically a baby sailor in the Royal Navy, and we spent weeks basically just sweeping up leaves. Okay, now not exactly super productive, but it was a job and it was a routine, and we got into it. And basically every morning we got up, we got into our uniforms, we had shower and shave, etc. Had some breakfast, then turned up and was issued with a brush, and we just went around sweeping up leaves on a camp. It wasn't exactly the most glamorous of jobs. It wasn't super productive, but it meant that we had a purpose. We had something to be doing, and that's very, very similar to what we're talking about here. In fact, I think there's a famous line in the film Bridge Over the River Kwai, actually, where Lieutenant Colonel Nicholson basically says to the second in command about, they're talking about the bridge that they're going to build. So we've got the cats. So this is their routine. They sit on this bit here and try and catch the birds as they come out of the nest. So they have a routine as well. But so Alec Guinness was saying to second in command in the film, we'll just create them some jobs. If we weren't going to build this bridge, then we would just make up something for them to do because it's important for their mental health and their morale. And there you see now we're joined by both cats there. So we have both cats joined on the video. But some of the reasons why routines are important, so they help reduce anxiety and increase sort of self-confidence, okay? If you don't necessarily need to think about what you're doing all the time, that reduces that self-anxiety around doing it, so you can help yourself mentally by putting in place a bit of a routine, and that will help you with your anxiety and your self-confidence. They also reduce stress, so if you already know what you need to be doing, or even if it's just in terms of blocks, which we'll come on to in a minute, you don't need to worry about the stress or the procrastination that might bring because you've already got that there. You can put in better time management as well. It will help you with your time management, which is fine. And you'll probably find that you get to know yourself a little bit better as well. You'll get to know what makes you tick, how you work, what works for you and what doesn't. And that's quite important in this, is that everyone's slightly different. Some people, you'll have heard the term, they're morning people or they're evening people, night owl or kind of early bird, etc. And people are different and different routines will work for different people. So, it's important that you get to know yourself a little bit in terms of how you work on your routines. So, a couple of tips then for creating a routine. Think about how you work. So if you are used to working a 9-to-5 job and then you have a break at 10 o'clock and you have lunch at 12, try and recreate some of that into your routine. And I suggest you start with a bit of a list of daily activities that you want to include in your routine. Okay, don't try and cram too many things in, but break the day up into chunks and try and figure out what it is that you want to achieve in those chunks. Now, we naturally do this anyway, because we're naturally aligned around night and day, things like that. but we also tend to break up the day into meal times as well. So we have breakfast, lunch and dinner, or supper, whatever it might be. So use those natural breaks and those natural interruptions, if you like, to create some chunks of time around that sort of stuff. But again, don't cram in too much, because you'll naturally try and scram in as much as you can in the first day. You'll try and do it, you'll weigh yourself out, and then day 2 you'll kind of give up and you'll be sat on the sofa eating Easter eggs, etc. So make it doable. If you've got kids at home with you, include them into the routine. Now, again, different children at different ages need different things, but they generally work really well with a routine. So whether it's nursery or school or high school or whatever it might be, they generally have a routine. So try and include some of that sort of stuff in. So if you break up the chunks, you might have a chunk that's around doing some sort of online maths training or online English or whatever it might be. Then you may move into something around, doing some fitness and some exercise. Try and include that sort of stuff in there as well. Now, one thing I'd say on this is don't be too hard on yourselves. You'll see a lot of people on social media talking about how they're hustling and using all this time to the best advantage, etc. And that's all great and that works for them. But don't put too much pressure on yourselves to be one of those people. Just be you, okay? Do what you need to do. If this is a time where you want to spend more time with your family, then do so. Don't feel pressured into the fact that you need to be doing online maths training or something with them all the time. Make sure you include in your routine some downtime. It's okay to have some TV time, some family time, baking cake with the kids, whatever it might be. That's all fine. If you do, however, want to be on the more productive end of the spectrum and the sort of super productive, have a look at doing things like the Pomodoro technique, okay, which includes sort of working 25 minutes specifically focused, and then breaking, and then doing another sort of 25 minutes. Okay, but just try and balance the routine a little bit between the things that you need to do in the short term, maybe some of the things that you've had on your longer term list of things that you've wanted to do, and also balance it around the things that you enjoy doing and like doing as well, and use this time to the best advantage that you can. But as I say, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just enjoy it, okay? The sun is shining, the routines are there. It will help you with your mental health, and as I said before, will reduce those anxieties and those stresses. So have a go, put it through, see what happens. Tweak it. It's not going to be perfect the first time you do it, but have a little play around about creating your routine, and then see how it works, and change it as you go forward. And if you've got any comments or any kind of tips for things that work for you, stick them in the comments below and see what others can do. All right, I hope everyone's really well and enjoying themselves as much as they can in this lockdown, and stay positive, get yourself a routine, and I'll see you all soon.